Football YouTubers, they come under criticism. A lot of people think they're living the dream. They're watching football most weekends, drinking a few beers, travelling around, living the life of Riley. And don't get me wrong, after almost 3 years, I'm still here. I'm still enjoying making YouTube videos. But today, I thought I'd give you an insight as to some of the harsh reality. It's not that harsh, let's be honest, it's not that difficult making videos, but I thought I'd give you an insight. As I said, almost 3 years I uploaded my first video to this YouTube channel on March the 10th, 2023, and here we are on the 8th of March 2026, I believe. Well, this is when I'm filming it, with a little bit of an insight, guys, because a lot of people are curious, how much money do we make? What goes into making videos, the schedule, how much do you pay for flights, tickets, are there any perks? And again, it does vary person to person. I've obviously moved around quite a bit, started off here in England, went to Germany and going to other countries now. Every YouTuber's different, but I thought I'd give you a nice insight as to what it's like and whether it's worth it. Maybe you're thinking of creating a football YouTube channel yourself, who knows? So here we go, hit that like button and let me spill the beans. Let's crack on. Yep, so I'm going to try and keep this as honest and realistic as possible. There's no script, but here I am outside a rather dusty collection of some of my 90s nostalgia, some of the memorabilia, some of the throwbacks you probably had if you're from England as a child. And this very much sums up where I started my YouTube journey. I mentioned 20th, I believe, of March 2023. I merely uploaded a video getting all nostalgic, looking back to 90s football as a fan here in England. And I thought it might be a way of sharing my own opinion and thoughts on some of those things we had as a kid. Maybe speak to like-minded people in the comments section and yeah, just show off my dusty collection. It's not really moved in the last few years, but that was my motivation to start a YouTube channel. Again, I can only speak for myself, but when I started a YouTube channel, I'd watch YouTube, but I was completely oblivious to football YouTube. I didn't watch any match vloggers. I didn't really watch anything on YouTube other than football highlights and old, again, nostalgic clips from the 70s, 80s and 90s, and re-uploads of like Faulty Towers and comedies we had here in England. So I went in this completely innocently and with no real motivation other than having a bit of fun, and it's still kind of the way things are now. But when it comes to creating a YouTube channel, again, 3 years in, I've very much changed what I do over that period of time. My first bit of advice would be, if you are to create a YouTube channel, maybe stick to a certain theme and build a loyal community around that theme. Obviously, I still dip in here and there to English football, but I very much do a lot of overseas stuff now. So yeah, if you're watching this and you're thinking of creating a channel, maybe this might be helpful as well. Let's get on to the nitty gritty though. I know you want to hear about money, how long it takes to edit videos, all the juicy stuff. So let's get back behind the desk and let's talk numbers, figures. Now, I know a lot of people who kind of make videos like this, how much did I earn, and they very much show exactly their analytics on YouTube. I am, believe it or not, a bit of a private person. I only kind of do social media merely because of this YouTube channel. I do think there are some things you need to keep private, but I will be absolutely honest, and you need to trust me when I talk about money, because I've got no reason to lie. This is not my job. I just want to clarify that. There are people who obviously do YouTube full time with more subscribers than me, and their analytics, their data will be, I can guarantee, completely different. Everybody's videos perform differently. X amount of views doesn't equal X amount of money. There's a lot of variables that goes into how much people make on YouTube. Of course, it's more to do with watch time. Obviously, the longer people watch a video, the more adverts that are shown, and therefore more potential money you can make. And of course, different adverts or different genres, niches on YouTube pay differently according to the niche you're in as well. So again, I'll be honest, I've not looked too much into that. I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube who can kind of explain making money on YouTube a lot better than me, but I just want to say, before I start talking about numbers, disclaimer, I've never taken a penny as profit. I've never taken a single penny or made a single penny in profit. Every single bit of money, plus we'll get onto it in a moment, loads of my own personal money, funds, traveling, watching games, flying overseas and so on. It might have changed over the past few years, but you needed 1,000 subscribers and a certain amount of hours of watch time before you could monetize your channel a few years ago. It might be the same still. But when I started making these nostalgia videos, the biggest reason I kind of moved on from uploading old clips and talking about the good old days was just because of copyright. Copyright is a massive pain in the ass for every YouTuber, and those who are talking about the good old days find it incredibly difficult, because if you're uploading other people's footage, of course you don't own the rights to that footage. So sometimes the videos will just get taken down, or you won't be able to monetize them. And that's fine if you are sat at home and this is just a hobby, you don't really have many costs, that's not really an issue. For me, I was starting to kind of spend a bit of money on certain things like shirts and things to actually make content on. So all that ad revenue was just helping fund the creation of videos. And it's the same with most YouTubers. I accidentally became a YouTuber because I was going to car boots, finding all these items, and I just wanted a creative outlet just to show off these items through shorts, not just Instagram and stuff. And then by fluke, I happened to just take a few videos when I was out watching football and just make a little bit of a matchday vlog without actually realizing this was a whole niche in itself. I had no idea who Fogden was, Fusion Josh, shout out to Fusion Josh, Footy Adventures, you know, all these great YouTubers, away days that people have known to love here in Britain anyway. I was oblivious to all these people, and that just evolved. My nostalgia evolved with not just sitting in here making videos on physical items, but actually getting on location, going to the sites of former football grounds, Upton Park, Griffin Park, Brentford's old ground, all these places where memories are still shared with the fans and just bringing those to life. So that was the progression, and then we ended up just doing stadium tours, match vlogs and stuff. And for me, or for the channel should I say, the channel was most profitable in that first year for me on YouTube. But we did have a peak about a year ago as well. But for me, if you are interested in the revenue side of it, English football definitely performs as an English speaking person a lot better than stuff overseas. For example, in my case, Germany. Again, if you're German and making videos on German football, that's going to probably be a similar position for you. Naturally, English speakers are probably more interested in English football, and especially the Premier League. We all know it's got a global audience. It's become the Super League, and say what you want about it. We've been critical of the Premier League, but there's the most eyeballs on the Premier League out of all the leagues in the world. So that reflects in earnings. Now, I got it to the point where within about 6 months of doing YouTube, the channel was generating about £1,000 in terms of advert revenue. I didn't really do a lot else at the time in terms of like merchandise, and didn't do a lot of live streams where people can pay you in super chats and things. So it very much was the adverts that pop up on the videos. And at that time, that gave me a lot of flexibility because I could easily fund all the trips. You know, there were times at the time I was a milkman for a little while as well, when I'd get off the milk rounds with no sleep and then just drive 4 hours to Newcastle to make a video on Newcastle or St James's Park. I would really put in the graft on those videos, but I was fresh, hungry. This was a new hobby, a new opportunity. So it was great that very first year. But the thing is with YouTube, everybody does it for different reasons. For me, it was always a creative outlet. For me, YouTube is always a way of connecting with people or reliving initially that nostalgia, having fun, but also being creative as well. It's always been that dilemma for me with doing something because it might perform well on YouTube, or doing something because I enjoy it. But reality is, when it comes down to it, I do videos most of the time that have a bit of a story and I can be a bit creative with. So again, I can't speak for all YouTubers, but for me, and probably for a lot of people, English football performs the best in terms of money. Again, the creativity, I started to get a little bit limited, a little bit bored, which pushed us overseas. However, talking money, I more recently have probably hit the lowest point in terms of advert revenue from these videos since those early days on YouTube. Last month, I think the payday was like £390, something like this, which again, we're not in it for money. This isn't the be all and end all of creating YouTube videos, but when your costs go a lot higher, when you're no longer making nostalgic videos in England, when you're paying for flights, for hotels, traveling around Europe, overseas, it's even more important to earn a little bit more in the advert revenue. So not only do the German or the overseas videos tend to make a little bit less money in terms of ad revenue, they also cost me a hell of a lot more to make as well, which is why recently, if you do follow me on Instagram, I have been contemplating the direction of this channel. Why do I do it? I'm currently a driving instructor, really enjoy my job, love kind of teaching people to drive, meet some great people in my day-to-day work. So I'm not looking for an out. You know, a lot of people do a job they hate, so they maybe pin their hopes on YouTube as a way out. That's not my thing at all. I've not got any kids. I'm just me, the missus and the dogs. We're fine financially, but as you know as well, I do have the agreement that the YouTube revenue is what funds my trips, and that keeps my girlfriend sweet, because that might be another question. How does my girlfriend feel about all these trips? I mean, this weekend we're going to be in Amsterdam. We're going to be watching the Spakenburg derby, a fierce non-league or amateur football match in Holland, which is like 30 minutes outside of Amsterdam. Then we're going to be watching Ajax on Saturday evening, probably having a few drinks around Ajax. How does my girlfriend think about this? Again, it goes back to we're very independent, we're very laid back, we kind of let each other do what we need to do within reason, but from a monetary point of view, if the YouTube channel funds these trips, she's all good with it. But I'm going to be honest with you, we mentioned the massive drop in advert revenue over the last 6 months, for example, so I have been hammering a lot more money into the channel than I previously did. So if you are in this to make money, don't create a YouTube channel to make money, because especially at the start you're going to spend a lot of money, especially if you're trying to make content like I do overseas, and we all know Premier League ticket prices are expensive, so there are a lot of costs to being a football YouTuber. And I do feel like a lot of people do disrespect YouTubers and just look at them as clowns with a camera, but there are some really creative people in the genre, in the niche. I mean, if we're looking at fan channels, none are better production-wise, I don't think, than Villa on Tour. Max does a fantastic job showcasing not only Aston Villa, but the away locations, stadiums, etc. He/they visit. I mean, we mentioned Fusion Josh, one of the top, you know, one of the best at what he does. Josh doesn't really have a niche. He kind of does English non-league, and he can go and do Dutch football. He does a bit of everything and does it really well. You might have noticed though, YouTube kind of changed at the end of last year, beginning of this year. The algorithm kind of changed. The homepage is no longer full of potential long form videos you might have previously enjoyed. It's kind of full of now YouTube shorts. They're definitely pushing the shorter form content, so getting your videos discovered is even more difficult on YouTube in 2026. New channels are being made every single second, competition is fierce, and never has there been more people making matchday videos, which is again also, stay tuned to the end of the video where I'm contemplating the direction of this channel. By the way guys, if you have any questions for me about YouTube, about football games, whether it's just light-hearted stuff like what's your favorite stadium you've ever visited, what's the worst, what do you hate about YouTube, what do you love about YouTube, get involved in the comments below. Again, I'm not making this video for any other reason than to try and be transparent and honest, because I think after 3 years you've kind of got to know me fairly well, but when we're at the football, after a few pints, we're all a little bit different than we probably are on a quiet Sunday morning like I am now, filming this in my stinky bloody shed. Again, you've seen my my setup here. We don't make a lot of videos here anymore, but this is why I called the channel Football Paradise, because as I uploaded that video almost 3 years ago, when I first started YouTube, this channel was called Rise 90s Nostalgia, and it wasn't just going to be about football, but it soon became Football Paradise. It's very much looking like a football nightmare at the moment, but as we surround ourselves with all the dusty memorabilia we've picked up over the last 3 years, it does really, it kind of makes me feel nostalgia about this channel, not just about football in general. But let's get back on topic, because I've spoken about money and I've spoken about what generates more how YouTubers make money. Of course, there are other ways to make money on YouTube. I have had a few like sponsored videos over the years. I've tended to stay away from them in more recent times because I do feel like as soon as you put an advert in your video, people just skip it on, which makes the video perform not as well, and therefore you make less on ad revenue. Again, there's going to be people who probably disagree with that, but yeah, so when you see this video is sponsored by Surfshark or something like that, they've been paid, they've probably been contacted via email, as I was, and has said, what's your rates, how much do you charge for an integrated video? And I think maximum I ever made was about £400 for a video, which is probably why I've not heard from some of them, because £400 is quite a bit of money just for an advert. But of course, all that money again went back into traveling, back into creating these videos, so it's never profit for me. Maybe some people do profit, I certainly don't. Maybe I should be a bit more business minded. Where should I go? Should I sit down there? I'll go over here. So obviously I said on this channel we'd started on nostalgia, moved on to kind of English football, and then I went to Germany and got completely hooked on German football and started supporting a German football club. Again, a fantastic personal experience. I still follow Bochum, they're still my club. But again, was it the best for business? Probably not. But again, absolutely no regrets, because this would be what I'd say. If you are to create a YouTube channel, you need to decide from the get-go, is this going to be a hobby where I'm just having fun? Or is this something I want to really give a go, try and grow and think a little bit more business minded with? And where I've got a bit lost over the past year is it was always a fun hobby for me. But as I said, because the revenue was really good in that first year, I thought, do you know what, I can actually make a go of this. And I firmly believe that if we'd stuck to the English stuff, we'd probably be on a higher than 40,000 subscribers right now. But if the passion's not there, if your heart's not in it, for me, creatively, I just couldn't carry on, which is why I went over to Germany. So at the moment, I'm in that lost kind of middle ground where I'm in between having that goal. I really want to achieve that 100,000 subscriber plaque. That's kind of a personal goal. But I'm also not going to do videos I don't enjoy in creativity. The creativity side, as I said, is a huge part of it for me, as you've probably seen with the cringy Bochum videos. So in 2026, do subscribers matter with regards to money and how much money a channel can generate? I guess indirectly, but in 2026, the number of subscribers a channel has does mean a lot less than it did, for example, 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, because just because someone's subscribed to a channel doesn't mean they're necessarily going to watch the videos. And from what I've heard, most of the time, people don't get notifications. Your videos don't even come up on the homepage. The algorithm very much goes with what you've watched recently, what it thinks you like. We all know we've been fed various stuff that maybe is a little bit controversial, but in 2026, no. For me, the subscriber number isn't massively important. Obviously, I really appreciate you guys who have subscribed, and I'm really proud to have 40,000 subscribers. However, it means a lot less than it maybe did, as I said, 10 years ago, when YouTube would feed those videos to the subscribers more often. You might be watching this, you might be a subscriber, and you might have not seen any of my videos for a couple of years, but this one's just popped up. So from a monetary point of view, it doesn't have too much of an effect. But obviously, if you have more subscribers, the likelihood is you would get more views, and therefore more views, more adverts that are going to show, and therefore more money a channel's going to generate. In terms of criticism, like, do you get a lot of criticism, negative comments? People are always interested. Do you get a lot of hate being a vlogger? I think being 36 years old, I'm very much in a position in my life where I'm happy, as I said, happy in my job. I genuinely love life. If I do get hit by a bus later on today, I'll obviously probably be dead, but I could rest in peace. I've had a good life. I'm happy with everything we've done. So when people, I'll be honest, I don't get that many negative comments. If you have any negative or constructive criticism, get involved in the comments below. But I was very much expecting more negativity, because I don't filter what I say. I do say a lot of things off the cuff, tongue-in-cheek, and especially when you go overseas and there's a language barrier. I think in Germany people definitely treat me a little bit more literally. I don't think they quite understand the British sarcasm and irony. We say stuff all the time, we chat shit, it's the banter. We don't always mean everything we're saying, but if you go on your Creator Studio, if you do have a YouTube channel, you click the comments, you click hidden comments. There's a section where YouTube even warn you, are you sure you want to see these comments? They might be tasty. I went for it, and I'll be honest, it's normally people just swearing at each other in the comment section. I've not had that much negativity, but if I do, honestly, I find it quite funny. Yeah, so for me, I would advise, if you are thinking of creating a YouTube channel, maybe you're a younger person, 16 to 21, and you've not found who you are as a person yet in life, and you are a little bit more fragile, a little bit more taken aback from negativity, and you might get upset if somebody says something negative. I wouldn't bother. You need a thick skin to put yourself out there in the public, because everything I say, like right now, I'm being judged. One little slip up, cancel culture comes in and ruins everything. So you've just got, for me, again, because I don't really care, I'm just relaxed, and if things go well, they go well. As I said, I do have a personal goal of hitting that 100,000 subscriber mark, getting the plaque. As a fan of the platform, as I said, I wasn't really a viewer of YouTubers before making a YouTube channel myself, but I have been a viewer on the platform with old stuff for numerous years. I love YouTube. So if we look at football fandom, on one side you've got the ultras, the hooligans, the hardcore. You've got the fanatics, the ones who absolutely hate vloggers, but they're entirely passionate about their club. You know, if we take Bochum, for example, they've dedicated so much time and energy to creating, you know, tifos displays, getting all the pyro sorted. On the other hand, you've got the vlogger, the person who again is prepared loads in advance to create a really good video for you guys, equally as passionate about his club, and has also opened the doors to new audiences to see what the fan base is like. For me in England, for example, vloggers are never going to be the best friends of ultras, but the amount of people that come up to me in England and say they now follow Bochum because of the videos, it's incredibly satisfying. It doesn't feed my own ego because I get nothing from it. If they go and buy a Bochum shirt, I'm not getting that money, but it's really nice to see that we've created this nice little community, for example. So YouTube's fantastic for the community aspect. A lot of people don't quite realise that not all of us just rock up, start filming, and then edit the video in like 10 minutes. For me, creating a video on average takes a match day video 5 hours. If I'm to make like an in-depth kind of stadium tour of a bit of history, it can take a couple of days to actually edit fully a video. Time that's precious when you've got a partner, when you've got a life, a full-time job outside of YouTube. People really don't quite understand how much time, effort, energy and money goes into creating a YouTube channel and creating YouTube videos. So even if you don't like a YouTuber, I know like Thogden comes under so much criticism, you have to respect the hustle, you have to expect the hard work, especially when he started out as a young lad, facing loads of criticism. I have massive respect for YouTubers, of course, even if we don't necessarily like them. And again, I'm not going in on the ultras culture. I've been absolutely fine, but you know, as an Englishman, I'll never fully understand the ultras culture. You know, it's something completely alien to us. But that's not to say I dislike it. I'm fully, you know, I'm fully in awe of it, and I'm fully respectful of how much graft goes into some of the displays they do. And I think the same ignorance some of us English people have towards ultras and that complete culture is the same ignorance a lot of people have with YouTubers as well. I think we should also all watch, enjoy whatever we enjoy. If it's something you don't enjoy, just move on, leave them be. That's my philosophy, that's my outlook in life. If I disagree with someone, great, well done. I respect your opinion, but I disagree. Let's move on. You know, if more people were like that, I think the world would be a lot more of a chilled, better place. Anyway, ladies and gents, before I start preaching, because that's by no means what I want to do, I hope you've enjoyed this little insight as to what goes on behind the scenes. At the moment, I am feeling a little bit like I want to create more English football content. I feel like we definitely opened the door 18 months ago or 3 years ago. We closed the door maybe a little bit 18 months ago, and I think there's a lot more potential there. I do feel like in order to get the German videos back on track, in order to get the European videos back on track, it does need the backing of some English football content. As I said, money isn't the driving factor, but without the money, it's very hard to create the content. So that's me being transparent and honest. I'm very much looking forward to this weekend when we're in Amsterdam. A couple of Dutch videos coming up for you, and then we're going to be doing a new series. I said I want to be creatively challenged, called doing the 92. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I will start ticking off each of the 92 English football clubs slash grounds. That doesn't mean we're completely distancing ourselves from Germany and doing the overseas trips. We might still do some non-league. We're not just doing only EFL content going forward, but I very much do want to finally try and complete the 92. We're going to start this series from absolute scratch. Number one, being my hometown, Cheltenham. I've got to start it here at my hometown, and then we're going to be everywhere. You guys are going to be heavily involved. I'm going to leave it up to you on weekly polls where you get to vote exactly where we go. I want to make this part of the community, as I said, even though, you know, I said I don't care what people think of me. It's great. It's great fun having this community. It's great fun that you guys enjoy the videos, and it's great fun going and making videos. It might be hard work to an extent. Editing a video is tedious, but it's not like we're down the mines grafting in the dark for hours on end. Let's put things into perspective, guys. It's not that difficult. Thanks for watching. Any questions you have about being a football YouTuber, get involved in the comments below. I'm interested to hear whether they're good or bad. Thank you, Dankeschön, and auf Wieder bloody sehen.